Hello friends, welcome to the higher module on institutional management for entrepreneurship. This is unit number 5 on business startups. So, I am touching the part 1, the second part, which is on the various forms of business organizations. So, these are the contents which we had covered some of them in the previous video. So, the different forms we have sole proprietorship, partnership, this we have already covered. So, the remaining we are covering in this video. So, that means the limited liability partnership LLP, private limited company, public limited company, one person company and section 8 company. So, this we are covering in this video. So, let us take them one by one. So, the first is the limited liability partnership LLP, which is becoming a very common, very popular nowadays. LLP is an alternative corporate business form which offers the benefits of a limited liability to the partners. You see, normally in partnership they have unlimited liability, but in this partnership they have a limited liability. A LLP is a legal entity, it is completely liable for its assets. However, the liability of the partners is limited to their contribution in the LLP. So, the liability of the partners is not unlimited, it is limited to their contribution. Partners in an LLP will not be responsible for other partners' debts, obligations or the liabilities resulting from negligence, malpractices or misconduct. Unlike a partnership firm, a LLP can continue its existence even after the retirement, insanity, insolvency or even death of one or more partners. Further, it can enter into contracts and hold property in its name. LLP is a hybrid between a company and a partnership. Now, let us talk of some of the features of the LLP. For all legal purposes, a LLP is an artificial legal person. It is created by a legal process and has all the rights of an individual. Every LLP must have at least 2 partners. At any time, at least one designated partner should be a resident in India. There is no maximum limit on the number of partners. A LLP cannot be formed for charitable or non-profit purposes. It is essentially that entity is allowed to carry on a lawful business with a view to earning the profit. A private company, firm or any unlisted public company can convert into an LLP in accordance with the provisions of the Act. Now, let us talk of the advantages of LLP. The liability of each partner is limited to his share as compared to the partnership firms which have unlimited liability. It has low cost of formation and it is easy to form. The partners are not liable for the acts of each other and can be held liable only for their acts. Less restriction and compliances are enforced on LLP by the government as compared to the restrictions enforced on a company. If we talk of the disadvantages, the only disadvantage of forming a LLP is that it cannot come out with its IPO, initial public offering, and raise money from the public, which a company can easily do. Now, let us go to the last, which is a company. A company registered under the Indian Companies Act is known as a registered company. These companies are governed and regulated by the provisions of the Companies Act 2013. In the eyes of the law, a company is an artificial legal person which has the rights to acquire or dispose of any property, to enter into contracts in its own name and to sue and be sued by the others. A company has a distinct entity and is independent of its members or people controlling it. A company is a stable business organization. Its life does not depend on the life of its shareholders, directors or employees. Members may come and may go, but the company goes on forever. A company may be limited by guarantee or limited by shares. In a company limited by shares, the liability of the shareholders is limited to the unpaid value of their shares. In a company limited by guarantee, the liability of the members is limited to the amount they had agreed upon to contribute to the assets of the company in the event of the company getting wound up. Now, let us talk of the different forms of companies. First is the private limited company. A private limited company is held by a few individuals privately having separate legal entity. In this, the shareholders cannot trade shares publicly. Shareholders cannot sell their shares without the approval of other shareholders. It is a company which restricts the right of its members to transfer its shares, and it does not send invitations to the public for subscription to its shares. To start a private limited company, a minimum number of 2 members are required and a maximum number of 200 members as per the provisions of the Companies Act 2013. A private company has a privilege over the public company as they do not have to keep an index of its members, whereas the public company is required to maintain an index of its members. When it comes to directors, a private company needs to have only 2 directors. In case of a private limited company, there is no need to issue a prospectus because the public is not invited to subscribe for the shares of the company. It is mandatory for all the private companies to use the word private limited after its name. Now, let us talk of the public company. A public limited company is a form of business organization that operates as a separate legal entity from its owners. It is formed and owned by the shareholders. Shares of a public limited company are listed on the stock exchange and traded at the stock exchange market freely. A public company must have a minimum of 7 members and there is no limit with regards to the maximum number of members. The shares of a public company are freely transferable. It can invite the public to subscribe to its shares or purchase its shares. Now, the next is the one person company or the OPC. This is a type of company that has only one member. OPC provides the benefit of both forms of business, proprietorship and the company. With formation of an OPC, business can be run in the same way as a proprietorship by complying with the law and keeping the liability of the member limited by the shares or by the guarantee. All the provisions of the Act applicable to the private companies shall also be applicable to the OPC unless otherwise excluded from the compliance. It should be treated as a private company for all legal purposes. The name of the company shall include the words one person company within brackets below the name of the company. The person forming an OPC has to nominate a person with that person's written consent as a nominee of the OPC, just in case something happens to the actual person. So, there should be a nominee. It should have a maximum of 15 directors and they are not required to retire by rotation. The next is the section 8 company. A company is referred to as a section 8 company when it registered as a non-profit organization or the NPO. such companies obtain an incorporation certificate from the central government. Its manner of carrying out the operation is similar to any other limited company, and even the rights and duties of a limited company and NPO are alike. As regards the eligibility criteria, the company must intend to promote science, commerce, education, art, sports, research, religion, charity, social welfare, protection of the environment or alike other objectives. The company must hold an intention to invest all the profits or any other income generated after incorporation in the promotion of such objectives only. The company does not intend to pay any dividend to its members. According to the Companies Act 2013, the Section 8 companies can be formed either as a private limited or an LLP or a public company. Some of the Section 8 companies in India are like Reliance Research Institute, then OTC, which is the over the counter exchange of India, and the Infosys Foundation and various others. So, I think that is all. So, with this I conclude my video. If you see the e-content, it contains a lot of information how to register these companies and etc. So, for more details please refer to the e-contents. Thank you so much.